Right. I think it's episode 8 now. I'm losing track. I'm losing track of the episodes. It's really nice, a nice problem to have. Thank you very much for all the wonderful things you've been saying about the channel and all the likes and subscriptions and everything like that. You know it may as well. So, ton, thank you very much. I'll take my glasses off because I don't need to see anything now. All I need to see is your wonderful faces. This episode is the rebirth of Sheffield Eagles. 1999 in September, end of September, Sheffield Eagles was done. It was done. It was dead in the water. That was through the actions of Rugby Football League and Sheffield Eagles hierarchy at the time, deciding that they had to merge with Huddersfield. Merge, I use that term loosely. How can a merger be 74.6% Huddersfield and 26.4% Sheffield? That's not a merger. That's a takeover. My feelings, my thoughts, that's all I'm saying about that. Right, now, what happened afterwards? These are all my memories of everything at the time. In October, according to the merger plan, Mark Aston was going to be the new coach of Huddersfield Giants in the first division of Rugby League, if they'd have been accepted. The merged team was still going to play in Huddersfield, but the reserves were going to be simply called Huddersfield Giants and coached by Mark Aston. Now, Mark didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that he wasn't going to play anymore. He was 32. Just turned 32. And obviously, there was the plans for Sheffield Eagles without him, which was unheard of. So Mark decided with his dad and some other people, namely Ian Annis and Angela Gregory, that a rebirth of Sheffield Eagles had to be taken apart. Now, first thing they had to do was get the name. And so they had to get the name back from Giants, which they did after a few times of backwards and throwing and ridiculous demands by Huddersfield Giants at the time. And another person involved was Ian Swire, who became the chairman of the club for a long time. Thank you very much for everything you did, Ian. Well done on your recent Hall of Honour induction. We all had these things at the time where it was nothing, and we was accepting the fact that there was going to be no Sheffield Eagles next season. So Mark literally had about 2 or 3 months to get a team together, but then the big theory was you had to get voted back into Rugby League to play in the Northern Ford Premiership, as it was. Now, everybody didn't want to. Nobody wanted Sheffield Eagles back in. They didn't want it. They didn't want to take any money. They didn't want to lose any of the precious money that they was getting. So the clubs voted against it. And when it came to the vote, there was like that. And then a team called Bramley, who was was playing out of, I think it was Headingley. They was at Leeds. They'd moved from their old McLaren field, which was condemned and fired and everything like that. And they were playing at Headingley at the time. They folded and was going to restart again as an amateur side. So they forfeited their place in the Rugby League and offered it to Sheffield Eagles. And Sheffield Eagles got voted back in by 1 vote, which was Barrow. Thank you, Barrow. Thank you for that vote. So Sheffield Eagles was back in on the terms of there was going to be no money given to Sheffield Eagles by the RFL of everything for that year, for the 2000 season, but due to the fact that the other clubs didn't want a reduction in what they was having. So Sheffield Eagles had no TV money, nothing like that. It was hand-to-mouth existence. Hillsborough Hawks Arena in Hillsborough, Sheffield, became every week we kept meeting up and was introduced to new players. People like Johnny Bruce, like Glenn Freeman, Lee Betterson, Michael Jackson came along again. There was Gavin Brown. There was all these wonderful players kept coming in, and it was very simply a who's who of Sheffield Eagles. And these 17 players played against I think it was Lancashire Lynx, not Chorley Lynx, on this first day, December 1999. Now the thing was all the meetings that was happening before that. It was all these meetings at the Attercliffe Workingmen's Club in Sheffield with fans and everybody taking it. And I remember Mark ringing me up saying, "Can I bring your kits?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "We want to pick the colours for the club." So got the shirts out and, hey, they were picked. of which I've got some of them. We had a kit that was standby kit. If you've got one of them, nice. It's a stag one that says Eagles on the back in a curve, and it's red, and it's got a red and gold and white V going down. No sponsors, but it's stag. That is one of my holy grails. I would love to get one of them shirts. So we go from there. But also we have the battle was always against Sheffield. There was unruly things coming out saying, "Oh, we don't want Sheffield Eagles back in rugby league." We were starting afresh. We had no ground. People wanted us to go back to Oulton Stadium, which wasn't feasible at the time. So the only place we could play rugby league was Don Valley Stadium. So Don Valley Stadium, a rethought of that. One of the reasons Sheffield Eagles got demised in '99 was the rent at Don Valley was just crazy. The amount of money they were charging Sheffield Eagles was crazy, the amount. It was absolutely stupid. So Don Valley people, international, the people that owned the DIV, the Don Valley people that owned it, they were a bit responsible for that. So they thought better about us. Sheffield Star started a campaign and everything to get back behind Sheffield Eagles. There was a lot of sponsors and everybody that had gone away over the years. They came back into the fold with Mark and with Brian and Angela and lots of people, and Ian Swires and Ian Annis and all these people that were just fighting to get rugby league back in Sheffield. So there was all these talks and everything. What was I doing? Very simply, I was attending every meeting, wondering what I could do, wondering where I could go. I'd come back from PGL, my new job, in September '99, at the start of September, and then I did some weeks of the year experience, and then I had to tell kids on the 30th of September that Sheffield Eagles was no more, that would merge with Huddersfield. So I was crying my eyes out on that day, and we went there, and I resigned to the fact that rugby league was over, and that I just got the collection of Sheffield Eagles jerseys. Looking back now, it's the best thing that ever happened. Well, that's the wrong thing to say. It's not the best thing that ever happened because we should have never been put in this position. But Sheffield Eagles had sold Keith Senior to pay the wages for the rest of the '99 season anyway. So there was financial problems left, right and centre. The commercial manager, Mike Turner, had left the club. And his fiancée, Nicola, who she was working with, she'd left the club and left the development side of things. And it was just Jason Davis and Simon Lomas. The standard of rugby league that people want. I mean, the first game back against Lancashire Lynx, Tubby lost his two front teeth and Johnny Bruce stood at him, and of which when he told him later on Mark Caston, he was very happy, and a few choice words were saying. Mark's coaching setup was recruited. He had Ted Dowd as the kit man, back again into Ted in the fold was Ted. Also, as an assistant coach and number 2 to Mark was one of the greats of all time, Howard Cartwright. Howard is a legend. He should be in the Hall of Fame for Sheffield Eagles. I don't care which part, but Howard Cartwright definitely should be in. He's an absolute bona fide legend. If there's no Howard Cartwright, we don't get half the team like that. He was always a great person, a great motivator. He knew what he wanted, and he just went from there. Amazing guy. Wonderful to watch. And I had a lot of time for Howard because he spoke the truth within about... If he had to give you a sentence, he would give you about the sentence and about 25 swear words. Very Yorkshire's Yorkshire, man. Let's put it that way. But very good. Knew everything about the game and was very good at what he did. Very good. A lot of players owe a lot to Howard and to Steve Ferries as well. So when the club restarted again, the crowds was down. Everything was like that. And it was restart from nothing. It was a couple of young lads from the old academy, Lee Bettison and Jamie Somerville. And we had Michael Jackson came back and played. Linton Stock came back and played in the early years as well. Wesley Savatabua did as well. It was a hand-to-mouth existence for Sheffield Eagles because Mark Liss said it straight. We have no money. We don't know what else to do. We've got nothing. So it was a rebuild and a restart. And it was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of things going on about what was going to happen with the club and everything. And I was privileged to be at the first game back at the end of December. And then I went back to do my PGL stuff and so forth. Also, I mean, the early days, Brian Aston, you've got to say about Brian Aston's contribution as well, was outstanding. Always at his son's side, knew exactly what the RFL was about, knew exactly what Huddersfield was about, and Brian deserves a lot of credit for what happened in the early days of Sheffield Eagles' rebirth. It's crazy to think now that all these years later, the new club's been there 23 years and the old club was only there for 16. So it's a bit of a thing, the fact that now, nearly 33 years later, the new Sheffield Eagles has been here longer than the old Sheffield Eagles. And that's testament of time between Mark and the Aston's family. He's even got his daughter now, Tash. She's involved with the club now. His son plays. His daughter does the hospitality work and everything like that. And his wife is still there, Dawn, at his side, which is amazing. The man. I can't speak highly enough for him. I covered it over in the other Tubby episode, but you cannot mention Sheffield Eagles without first of all thinking Mark Aston. That's the thing now. He's always got time for you. He always says hello. He always makes you feel $1 million. He knows what to make you feel. He knows how to motivate. The squad he's got, the players he has at his disposal, he makes them feel 1,000,000 times better than they were. And he always has and always will. He's amazing. The colours of Sheffield Eagles are a tribute to him. He told me why we play in white a few seasons. He says because he was supported St Helens when he was a kid and he wanted a team kit that looked like St Helens. So, I don't know why, we had to play white shirts for jumps for him, but we've worn white a few times. We wore white first before, but never wore white later years, except for when Mark wants to do it. But he is a wonderful, wonderful person, the Sheffield Eagles. The early days also as well, I think the first season, it was a case of Mark said, we want to be competitive. Nobody said that we was going to win the league. We were going up against teams like Ulkingston Rovers and Wakefield Trinity, Featherstone Rovers, and all these other teams that were like Batley and Batley Dewsbury and all these other teams at the time. And it was really, really stalwart. And it was bad. I mean, everybody hated the fact that Sheffield Eagles had merged already. I mean, there have been mergers already. We already had Gateshead merging with Hull Sharks and became Hull FC, which a lot of people forget. The fact that Hull FC is a product of a merger. Same as Huddersfield Giants. I bet you right now, when you ask any Huddersfield Giants that there was a merger team in 2000, they couldn't name that team. This is 20-odd years ago now, and it's still fresh in my memory, and it still hurts. The fact that some people called it a merger, and it weren't. It was a takeover. Simple as that. So it took over. If anybody wants to have a go at me, come on, do it. Send me a message. I'll argue the toss with you. I know exactly what it means to me. I know exactly what happens and stuff. This is what it's called, Eagles Memories. It's the rebirth of the Eagles. A lot of supporters now these days look back and go, all this has happened. So, yeah, but the stalwarts of the club that's been there from before the 90s got this. Excuse me, we was in tears. We was heartbroken. It was awful. The fact that Sheffield Eagles was no more. The fact that Sheffield Eagles was not ceasing to be. And Mark says, we're going to start again. If we don't get in this year, we'll get in next year. And if we don't, we'll get in the year after. There was a plan. There was a business plan. There was a focus plan. There was a development plan. There was every type of plan there was. It was there. It was a plan to get rugby league back in Sheffield on a weekly basis with the name Sheffield Eagles. That's what was the plan. New badge. There was a new badge came back. The old style eagle came back onto the floor. Everything was all about it. And Sheffield made a return to the badge. Now, this is the one that people don't really mention it. But from 1997 to the end of 1999, the club badge said Eagles. It didn't say Sheffield. This was a big, big, big talking point. And I'm going to bring that up in a future episode. The reasons behind it, why they did it, the outcry over it. But yeah, that's going to be on a future episode. So we have that still to go. But all in all, thank you very much for watching this episode of the merger of things. I wish I could remember more of it actually, but you know what my brain's like. It just seemed at the time Sheffield Eagles was really. We started from nothing. That's the thing. And you look where we are 23 years later. We've just spent 10 years homeless. 9 years was spent homeless. We had a season back at the OLP, but there was nothing. That was a shack. That was a shack of a stadium. It wasn't permanent. It was a temporary stand. It was basic facilities and everything. Now you look at OLP now. You've got pie stands. We've got a merchandise shop. We've got the offices. We've got everything there. It is fantastic. It's a wonderful place. So thank you to everybody that's done it so far. It's a year in 3 weeks that Sheffield Eagles has been back a full year at the what a 12 months it's been. And that's going to be another episode of it, the return to Sheffield. So keep tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope everything's about it. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit the subscription, and we will see you next time for another wonderful episode of Sheffield Eagles Memories. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Goodbye. Take care. Bye-bye.